Thank you so much. Good to be here and good to see you and everyone else as well. This is a topic that I love to talk about, as you'll hear me tie it a lot into self-love, because I do believe that the best way that you can be successful in relationships in general, whether it be dating or in relationships, is definitely to honor and love yourself first. So let's start off with kudos for all of you for being here, for signing on, for doing something that is very self-loving, and really by just showing yourself some of that love by tuning in and wanting to learn something about relationships. And I because really, relationships is everything. And so whether it is you're wanting to have a companion, even meet friends, meet new people. I mean, these are just good ways. We're going to talk about very much in depth, though. This is going to be very much more geared towards a romantic relationship and dating. And, so I would imagine that those of you who are here are interested in learning more about this topic. I have a lot of information prepared for all of you. So you could there will be time for questions, but if you do have questions as they go along and when I'm on a specific topic, certainly but let me know, because I will get to it. But I have it all planned out in my slides that I'm going to present to you. And I really do believe this is my third year doing this, which is amazing. And that I feel there's a lot covered here. So hang on and I'll get to any of your questions and I'll make sure to answer them in the best possible way that I can, because I really do feel that this is something that, I'm really honored to be here to share with all of you my wisdom about this topic, because I consider myself a relationship expert because I actually came from a background where I wasn't taught anything about relationships. So because of that, meaning the way I was brought up and raised, parents divorced young when I was 10 years old. And I had to really learn. And I was really lost. I was really lost in relationships and finding my way in dating, and really was a bad picker and chose bad partners. And not that they were bad themselves. They were all good guys. It's just that they weren't really a match for me ultimately. And we'll talk about that too in a little bit. But I do feel, there's that personal part of me that gives me that expertise, because I have been married and then that didn't work out. And then I found the love of my life after doing much work on myself and learning how to love myself and take care of myself. And that is how I attracted who I think is the most incredible man on earth. But, I'm a little biased there. And we're going to be together 15 years this year. So, but it was all due to the work that I did in learning about my own personal development and about myself. So that's what we're also going to, and tomorrow's topic will also be another, right, Nicole? We're going to be taking off from that, which is great. We felt that they really went well together to be talking about self-love on Valentine's Day. So they tied together. So if whatever's not answered today, we can certainly go into tomorrow. And so now here we are. We're going to be talking about, all any questions that you have. And so let's just get it going and let's go right into the next slide here. And, I want to really kick it off with saying that the odds are in your favor. Everyone here, you have really, really good odds, because there is a 1 in 304 chance compared to 18 to 24-year-olds that have a 1 in 1,024 chance. So, and the online dating actually improves the odds by 17%. So we are going to talk about online dating. I do think that it is an important topic to talk about, and we're going to I have some listed in the next slide here. I will say that online dating is a great way for a couple of things. You could potentially meet the love of your life online. And I actually do know people who have. I know a lot of people who have been extremely successful with online dating apps. And there's so many more now. And now at this time, it's become I believe it's become so much more of the norm than it used to be, because, and especially with the pandemic, making everyone, go online so much easier and more looking for ways to connect. These are some sites that kept coming up as the top sites that are the most popular. And you have to try them out, right? So you have to see, which ones are you find better for you, which one you are, because they all have different ways that they work. So you want to see, which one you like. A lot of them have a free trial. Match has a 7-day free trial, and then they do have 1-month plans. Some of them you have to pay for about $30 to $40 a month, or some could be $20, $19.99 a month. But you have to just see what they are. They all have different options. Some have options to try it and then get more benefits. So you could really, really find. I'm telling you, if you give it a try and you've never tried it, do it and have fun with it. That's what I would absolutely suggest. And I think that, and it's, I see Sherry's comment here where she says she met a guy on with apps, and you met, but no luck with the apps, but you're matching him up with 2 of your friends, which I just think is great. Like, you met someone, but and then you're matching them up, you're meeting. It's like, so the point is you get to meet people that you may end up being friends with, or you may, for whatever reason. I just think that it's a great way to extend and expand your meeting ability. But as it said, 17%, I believe is probably even higher than that, to extend your pool of people, of matches. And I always say this, and I've said this all the time, is you only need one. That's it. You only need one person. So I really highly recommend it, but it has a lot to do with your profile, which we're going to talk about in the next slide. This is very important, because this is something I've seen with a lot of people, where they would come to me and they would say, these are the guys that are messaging me, or the women that are messaging me. And they would come to me and say, why are they saying this? Or I'm like, well, what's in your profile? So it starts with your profile. Okay. So we're going to really touch on this, because I think it is so important. Firstly, you want to do it in the best possible way, right? So you want to do it in the best possible light. So the first thing you want to think about is creating your profile and writing it when you're feeling good, when you're feeling up, when you're happy. So you want to put positive energy into it, because I really do believe that energy goes into how you create your profile. So that is very important. And I also think that it's important about the photo that you choose. You want to pick one that it's you, it looks like you, it's natural, but yet it's exactly, it speaks to who you are, and you feel good about it. I think that's what's most important, is that you feel good about this photo and it represents you. The worst thing is, and they call it catfishing these days. The worst thing is someone puts a photo on, and there's so many, you can see this is always like represented in movies and so many things, where then, someone puts a photo on, and then someone completely different, like physique or looks, shows up and walks in to the meeting place. And that is not something in the way you want to walk into, just like you don't want to represent yourself that way. So be mindful, be honest. I'm going to always say that, be honest, be true. And you will then again energetically attract the person who sees that and sees you. And that's just a little snippet, because honestly, I'll tell you, even my husband still tells me this today. He saw my Facebook profile picture 15 years ago, way back, and it's like Facebook was just getting going. He didn't even like the picture I had of me. It was a blind date. We were on a blind date, set up on a blind date. And he said just whatever reason it was, and maybe it wasn't I don't even know. I don't even remember what picture it was. The point is that, he still comments about it. He's like, but I went anyway. But it's like, I think it does speak to people. There's the photo, there's the because it didn't represent me. And that was the point. It's like, he didn't feel like that was really truly me in the picture, in terms of I looked a lot less happy in the picture. It wasn't a very happy picture of me, I think. So that was the reason. So and tell some of your story. So when you're talking about yourself, just tell some of your story. You know, you don't have to give away everything. It's about when you meet somebody, you're going to get to know them. So you want to leave some information for some interesting conversation. You want to leave some things to talk about, and also some things for intrigue and curiosity, and for someone to want to get to know you more, so that you could give little pieces and you could tell some of it, but you don't have to put everything out. This is not about, you know, your entire bio and your entire life story. This is, you know, you get to know someone and you get to uncover things. And I think that's also the fun part of dating, is really the courting part, is getting to know someone and sharing different parts of your story over time. So, and that's when it's the appropriate time. Okay, so as you got, I think you guys got it. Profile is very important, and on that. And let's go to the next slide and let's see. And here we go. Frida, you are just right on track here. So an example of what to say and what not to say. There we go. We got the do's and the don'ts right here. Okay, so you're right there. I got you. Okay, so we have what we say is do. Okay, what we do is be honest, right? Again, I can't stress honesty enough. You know, it is, you want to be honest about what you want, about who you are. And that is so key. So you don't want to, and you don't want to be negative in there. Like, you don't want to say, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. You know, you want to be positive about it. You want to talk about the things you like. And this, I think, also speaks to the law of attraction. So when you put out what you don't like, even out to the universe, and you're just writing it down by putting it in the profile, you are actually putting out these negativity. And so you can sometimes attract that back to you. So always be positive. That's the thing I want to really emphasize. Be positive and be honest. You want to mention your values, because I think that's so important. It's important for compatibility. You want to, you know, and you also don't want to be demanding, like this, you must be this, this, and this, because right away, it's definitely going to be talking about it's going to say something about who you are. So you do want to be specific. You do want to talk about how much you love traveling. You want to talk about, you know, whatever it is that you love, right? So talk about your bucket list, talk about things that you really liked. Again, the more specific you are, the more you're talking about yourself. Okay, so that is so important. And definitely do not share anything in terms of being specific. Don't be anything with identifying info. We're going to talk about being safe in a little bit, but don't, you know, like, don't put a picture in front of your house with your address or something that would be identifying. You want to keep it pretty. You know, you want to have some anonymity on there while talking about yourself. So it is really a fine line. But show your uniqueness, you know, show what it is that you like. And, you know, you want to really, like, you could, you know, also, like, add a detail, you know, say something like, instead of saying my ideal Friday night is a cozy night in, you could say something like, my ideal Friday night includes sinking deep into the couch and watching my latest binge, like Hello Yellowstone, you know, with a cup of herbal tea in my hands. You know, you want to, that right there, that really did reveal a lot about me. But what I just said, right? You could say I'm a Yellowstone fan, I love my herbal tea, and you could really get to know. It's a lot more specific than being, you know, about being just saying being general. Okay, let's see. What about smokers need not respond? Okay, good question, Armand. I think that I think that's very important. If that is a deal breaker for you, again, you want to, I think that's really okay to put that. I really want to, I think that, and however you want to phrase it, however you want to word it, right there, you're just saying that's just a non-negotiable for you. And I think it's important. That is something that you want to put it right out there in the get-go, if that is something that you stand true to. And I think some of the apps too, by the way, do have where you can check that off. I do. I think they even have that in some of the apps. And so I think that's something that is very important to some people. So it's something that you want to say if you don't want to smoke, have a smoker. Um, the Frida on that one, what about heavy drinkers? That's a good one. It's so subjective. It's so, you know, um, that's a tough one. It's like, because, and I'm only just saying, it's the only reason why and I'm thinking this through, it's tough, is because I think everyone's idea of how much drinking is too much may be also very personal to what they think. Like, some people may look at it one way than another, and how could you possibly, write that? And I think that when you get to meet a person, you get to, and then something you could do like in a screening, or find out, when you talk to them. So I think that, this is also something that you could also put in. I do believe there are some sites now that also add the drinking preferences. So along with the smoking. So it's a lot more on the dating sites these days, where you can list it and it helps you out. Because some people, I think they give you like what your preference is. So that's good. It's already right there on the app from what I understand. So you can do it through that. And that would be the best way to do it, is do it through the way that they link you up through the preferences, and then will show that. So you also don't want to brag. You want to be very, you want to be humble, and not make it, you want to talk about yourself, but you want to also be humble about it, and use a nice, tone when you are speaking about yourself. Okay, so let's look at the next. Okay. Now we want to also talk about, there's other ways too that you can meet, because I think that online is definitely one option, but I also think that maybe it's not for everyone. I wanted to touch on it. I see, how about family values? I think that and I'll respond to that, Barbara, because I think that if you have specific family values that you do want to note, or you do want to attract, here's what I would say about any of the, it's like, if you feel a certain way, that is something unique to you, meaning about how what you're looking for. Like, if you have strong family values, and maybe specifically how they are, you may want to mention, then if you say that, you'll attract somebody like that too. So that's another way, as you talk about your own, so that you talk about your values. And I do think that is a very good thing to do. I think that it's good to mention, because then you'll also find someone else in alignment with you, if that's really important to you. So I definitely support talking about that. And I also do believe that there's, on some of the sites, that they let you pick your political views too, because that could be another one, where that could go south in some cases. So, if you're really on opposing views, you want to make sure, and that's, I think, another thing that you could be able to check off in these sites, like they actually have it in the checklist. So that is with the dating sites. But I think it's so important to, and even if you do try these sites, you try them out, you try it with, a playful attitude. That's something I really, really want to stress, is to be playful about this. Make it like this is a new fun thing. And you know what? If you don't like it, you don't have to do it, but you try it and put yourself out there. I just think it's a great way also to put yourself out there. And it's like telling the universe, hey, I'm available. I was on dating sites before. When I was introduced to my husband, it was a blind date. And that's what I was meeting, and I was just out there. It was like practice, it was like, I was just going out there, none of them hit, obviously. And it was, and so on the note of blind dates, I highly recommend them. So if somebody wants to set you up with someone, they may know you a little bit better than you do, or think you do. So you'd be surprised. They could be very pleasantly surprising and lead to a great thing, and a great, a great connection. And so I highly, highly recommend going on a blind date, and tell everyone, let people know you're looking. or you'd like to be set up. I have a friend who was recently divorced, and we were talking about this actually. And, she was like, I think I'm going to start telling people that I'm ready to meet. And I was like, I really encouraged her. And I said, I think that's a good idea. And, she's ready. And I said, then let people know. And I don't think, I think it's appropriate. I think that, if people sometimes also after, certain situations, some people don't want to set you up or do because you're not like on their radar because you're not putting it out there to them. So and you're not talking about it. So I think that that is another good thing to do. So it's very important. And I'm very big on, taking a chance, initiating, especially to women, to, make the first move. It's okay. Say hello, smile, whatever. You don't know. You just don't know, who you meet. Right. And so there's lots of places, there's book clubs, lectures, do things that you are that you enjoy, some like an art class, just things that are interesting to you. I hear that the libraries have some really great, like local libraries have really wonderful programs. And and I would imagine that even just to meet friends too, to meet like-minded people who are there enjoying the same sort of thing. Maybe it's dancing or taking a dancing lesson, or I will say, pickleball these days is really definitely all the rage. I got to add that one in there because it's every age I know, and every person is like really loving pickleball. And it's a fun sport, and they're all different levels at it. Some people get really, really, really competitive at it, and some people really play for fun, and it is very social. And they have all kinds of like groups and meet and like they have like round robins. I mean, it's everywhere. It's really, really everywhere now. So it is definitely something to check out. And it's just a fun new sport if it's something that you're interested in doing, something that is more physical or has movement, or and that's something that's for you and speaks to you. But because that again is all ages are loving that. So that's another thing I want to throw in there and add to that list. And then even so, if you're on a group, right, and then you see someone, or you want to maybe chat someone up, you could private message them. You could send them a private chat and start a conversation with them. That's a way that you can, if you want to talk about maybe just, because you both have it in common that you're on the topic. So that's something that you can do, and do it very, and hi, it's that simple. Or, oh, I see you said either we do these so many of these groups that we have here, from traveling to yoga to we had Gene Kelly's wife on the other day. I mean, it was just such great talks and such great things. So I think that these are just great things to do and do as a meetup, and go to do virtual and do meetups. That's another thing. You want to do a safe meeting. So that is something that, these groups, virtual certainly is a way to be able to do this. So I think that is, these are all great ways. I don't know, let's just see. Oh, look, good. Okay, so Frida said she just came out of her comfort zone and joined a senior center last week. Great. Okay, that's okay. It's okay to feel a little bit on guard, and you take the first step, right? And if it's when you are stepping out of your comfort zone, that's the point. There's going to be a little bit of that, a little bit of that guardedness, and like dipping your toes in the water, right? It's okay. That's really okay. And I'm glad that you've been enjoying yourself and you're putting yourself out there. So really good for you, Frida. And I hope, as an inspiration to others to go out of your comfort zone and to step into something that you've been thinking about. And the thing is, I always say, you never know, like you really may surprise yourself. And that's the point. So, and you might meet someone fun and nice, and maybe meet a new group of friends, and then you never know who those friends know. It's just like, You just never know. So it just definitely could change your life socially. So that's really it could have definitely an impact. And so I think it's very important. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide and talk about some tips on when you first meet somebody, because it is definitely, there's some things that you want to, get yourself in the mindset of before, you go out there. And I think that it's so important to, want to be comfortable, right? You want to be you. You want to be you, and you want to make sure that where you're meeting and what you're doing is in a convenient spot. You know what I mean? You don't want to put yourself out of your way. You want to make sure that you are very confident when you step into. So it's sometimes you may not have that confidence when you're going out. It might be nerve wracking, which is very normal. And some of the things that I would suggest is to get yourself ready, get yourself, what I mean, ready, like mentally ready. So, and really go with the attitude that you're going for fun. And not make it as if it's, you want to really, the best way I could put this is don't take it so seriously. Like treat it with respect, because you want to treat yourself with respect and you want to treat the person with respect that you're showing up for, while not to make it so heavy, and to keep it light, and to keep it, keep it something that is playful and fun. So you want to make sure of showing up in that way, and not judging yourself about, anything. If maybe, you think if you're doing something wrong, you're doing it right. Like, you be authentic, and really make sure you're taking care of yourself, because I think that is so important, to take care of yourself, to make sure that if you are not, and if you're, oh wait, I see Chris said, okay, we do some power poses before your meeting or dates. That's great. That's good, because power poses, and that's like something, however that power pose could be. Maybe it's Superman or Wonder Woman pose in the mirror. You could make your own power pose, right? It's whatever speaks to you. And it's about you like thinking it, believing it, and showing up to the date, to the meeting, and thinking of it as like meeting a new friend. And that's how I used to frame it. And it's like you're meeting a new friend, you're going out, and you are open. And that's the other thing, open, like to really be open. And that I think is so important. So, okay. I see some other chats coming in. So let me look at those chats here. And I see that, okay, Cherry is going, she goes to car show. That's smart. That's a good thing. Go to the car shows, because you definitely will find, and especially even if you're into cars yourself, that's even better, right? Because then you have something in common that you can talk about. So definitely car shows are great. And like this, again, that's something that you'll meet. There will be a lot of people to mingle with, especially if it's something that you have an interest in too. So that's a good one. And yes, that is being brave, and that's the part what we're talking about is to do brave things, right? And then it's a great option. Okay. So, and I see also she also goes to musical jams where there are very few women. Okay, then that where the ratio is, so you got a better chance. So that's another good thing. And then men can do the same thing, right? They could do vice versa. They go to events where it's more heavy in with women, right? So they probably be a hit, right? So it's like that's another option to go where something that would draw women, but that's something men can do too. So I think that's an interesting way to also increase your odds, right? There's always ways. You just got to be creative and you just got to get out there. So let's see. Okay, Armand says, speak about the word love and when or if to start using it when neither person wants to remarry. Okay, so let me talk about that word love, okay? Now, I think that it's such a, there's like, the best way I could put this is that there's really no definitive way to say when is the right or the best time to say you love someone, or I think that if it's a feeling, and if it's a true feeling and it feels right, then that's something that you are being vulnerable, and and if this is something, let's say you feel, right? Like, so if you're in a situation where you really are falling for a person and you really feel like you love them and you're spending a lot of time with them, I think that there's no timeline or a way to say it. I think it's all about being, and the best way I could say this, it's all about being authentic. And if you feel something truly in your heart, and I see where you say, when neither person wants to remarry, there's so many people that I know that love a person they're with and never marry them, or never, there's no intention to marry, but they love that person, they love each other, and that is how they want the relationship. And I think that's an option, right? That's that's your choice. So whatever the choice is on, where you want to take the relationship, perfectly okay. And that's up to you, and up to you, and then what feels good for you. Just like if you are feeling that you are feeling strongly about, like, you do feel loving feelings towards this person, I always say you want to express it. You want to let this person know. And if you're being honest, it's really, it's always, it's just the best way to be is to be authentic and be true to you. Be true to you. And not worry whether, because then of course there's the other side to it, and not worry whether the person you're saying I love you to is not feeling the same way, not to worry, it's like, I think that if you're feeling that feeling, I mean, you would want to know anyway, right? If that's person, like, if you want to say it, you say it, and whether you have to be able to be okay with whether they're there or willing to say it back and how they're feeling. So I think that that's really the point, is really, there's not a time. So that's the main part of the answer, is that there is no right or wrong time. Some people fall in love, and after knowing each other for days, weeks, it happens quickly and they last or not. So it's really, so my gosh, this is all so much of this is just so subjective to the people who are involved in these situations, that there's no textbook answer. And that's what I think is important for you guys to get, is that it's all about being very true to yourself. And that's the main point. And then I see Barbara saying it will radiate to each other, but first build a strong bond. And that's a great point. And I think that, again, like, a strong bond is also something that is, what does somebody, what is a strong bond to someone over another, and what does that look like? And I think that's something you have to know, right? You have to feel it. You just have to feel it for yourself. You do. You have to feel it and be okay with it. Just be okay with giving them, telling them that, and not, and whether or not they respond or not. So it's just, it's important. And I think that it's important to speak your truth. It really is. And I'll to this day, I'll never forget. I said, I love you first to my husband, and I'll never forget his answer, because we laugh about it still. He replied with thank you. I told him I love you, and he replied with thank you. So, I think that it's very important to be honest, and just really make sure that you are authentic. So that's very true. And it's all a matter of where you're at. Okay. So let's go to the next. Oh, this is important. It says, you could go to the next slide. It's okay. Thanks. that, to make sure you always know too, you have an exit, like a way out. For example, like if you are feeling not respected or not good about how you're being treated, always have a way out and always have like I always call it like an exit strategy. So always have a way to leave and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And that's so important. Okay, so I wanted to make sure to mention that. How to start a conversation. Okay, so it's important, one of the things you can do if this is something you're curious about is you could ask someone a question. That's a really good way to start a conversation. You could ask someone something and then it could lead to more deeper conversation. You're going to have to take a chance, and usually there's a 50% chance, or if a woman initiates it, so they get that 50% response. So you got that one out of two, hey, got a 50% chance. So that's not so bad. So give it a try. And again, I'm going to stress initiate. Okay. So let's see what's on the next. What do we have on the next slide? There you go. Okay. Definitely want to touch on safety because it's very important, especially if you're meeting somebody through a dating site. You want to make sure that, no matter what, even though you might have been having some conversations with them, you've talked to them a couple of times, I highly, highly recommend to, sometimes it's easy, it's easy to do these chats and messages. Those are easy. Because you could think about what you want to say. You could delete it if you don't like what you said. You could rewrite what you said. But I do believe it's important to have a conversation with someone before you decide to meet them. It's a personal belief. I think it's important. I think you get to know a little bit about them. You also get to hear their voice, which is, I think it's important. I see for you shaking your head, right? It's like, and I think it gives you a little bit of a sense. I'll never forget when even though I was being set up on a blind date with my husband, he called me, and he happens to have a really nice voice, and that really like impressed me. It was something that it's like, oh, he spoke so nicely, and and I was like, okay, so I was a little more interested in meeting him. And I think that if someone speaks in a way that you could tell, do they have confidence on the phone? How are they speaking? You can definitely tell. I just think you could tell a lot about a person, and even just by speaking to them rather than doing the chat. So I highly recommend doing that. And so let's see, and let's see, and I see your comment. Let's see, I'm seeing some comments here. I ask a lot of questions. Frida saying, when I tell them ahead of time, they do not mind me asking. I tell them I can ask whatever. Okay, so you like to ask a lot of questions. And that's good. And that's important to you. And you want to and you let them know. It sounds like you're honest. This is who I am. And then that's cool. And then, Lori, I hope you stick around, you listen, because maybe, and I think it's firstly great for you that you put yourself out there, you're sending messages, and you're right now, I know you see that you're paying for Match and you're trying Match, and you're not getting any responses, but maybe you want to take a look at how you're initiating or what you're saying, and maybe some things might come up even from today, and you might get some tips and some pointers of a new way to try. So I think there's always ways to learn and do things different. And so I don't think you're alone. And I think that's a lot. That's a lot. The reason why everyone is here today, to learn new things and get information that could be helpful in being successful, because this is a talk about being successful in dating. So I'm glad you're here. And so, and if maybe you've tried a site and maybe it's not working for you, maybe there's another site, for anyone here that, has tried one, maybe try something else and maybe just give it a new energy, give it a new try. And then that's something that you can also try. Definitely let people know when you're going out on a date. Let them know where you're going, meet in public. And then if you do feel that something is off or something feels wrong, always, always, always follow your gut. I want to stress that. Listen to your gut. Okay. So you want to listen if something, there's like a dangerous signal or a sign, then make sure that you are listening to that. Okay. So make sure that you definitely listen to that. Okay. And I think that is so important. And don't give them any extra personal information, especially if you're just getting to know them. You want to keep it very business initially. Certainly you want to show, be authentic, while also with a line of, there's a boundary there of how much information you're going to share. So you want to really be careful about that. Okay. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yeah. All right. Now, next, that's a good question, Lori. Somewhere you can get help with your profile. I think that one of the things that I would suggest is sharing it with somebody that knows you really well. And it's something I would highly recommend. And maybe they might write things or help you and say things about you that you would never think to say, because they know you. And then maybe it's so hard sometimes, I think, for us to write about ourselves or to explain about ourselves or try to like sell ourselves, so to speak. And I think our people who love us the most and are close to us know us and see us in a light that we may not see ourselves, and they can give us really good insights and really good information. So that would be my first recommendation, is to look at what, have someone look at it and let them give their honest feedback, of maybe of how you're coming across. So I think that's really important. Okay. So I definitely want to, there's some scams out there, which I'm sure, I want us to all make sure that everyone's careful, and you want to look at, make sure you look at that profile picture of the person you're going to be talking to. Does it look like it's an authentic photo or a stock photo? Sometimes you can't tell, but if something seems a little off about it, again, listen to your gut. And Frida, there you go slow and ask lots of questions, right? So ask lots of questions. It's okay. You're getting to know someone. See about their email, right? So like, see what their email address is. If it seems sketchy, it probably is sketchy. Okay. Because I actually have had clients back when I was doing therapy, and I was a counselor, I actually had clients that fell prey to scams online. And some of the things they would come across, and I'd see, is they would tell me about, the email address. And then I would always say, you always want to look at what type of email address it is, because sometimes these things are like bots, like they put bots out there on these sites, where it's not even a live person that's emailing you. And then the next thing you know, they're asking you for your bank account and all your personal information. So that's something, and I'm sure we've all gotten those types of emails in some way or another. So we really, really, really want to be careful about that. And so that is something that happens, that you want to be careful and never, ever, ever send money to anyone that you do not know. Okay. Just a never. No, it's never a good idea. Okay. So that's on that. So you want to make sure. Also, another thing is, if this is important, if a person keeps telling you they're going to meet you in person, because this is something I've also seen a lot. If they say they're going to they're going to meet you, and then every time they come up with an excuse when they're supposed to have the meeting, and you haven't met them after a few months, then you have a good reason to be suspicious. Like, it's something just to keep in mind, and they've not, they just are stringing you along on the online, and they break dates constantly, but never have met you in person. That definitely seems suspect. So you want to, and suspicious in the way that they're not available. Really, they're not available if they're not making themselves available to meet you in person. So just something to be aware of. It's something to be aware of. I'm not saying it's always 100% the case, but it is definitely a case where, because maybe sometimes there is a legitimate reason, but if you are feeling suspicious after some time, listen to that. That's really the point. Listen to that. And yes, and I think you can, that's a good point, Barbara, that you can block them. If someone is in, if you find something out about something that they're not legitimate, or you can do that, you can block them. And I fully agree with that. Okay. So that is, and then let's go on to the next one about red flags. And okay, as I sense, I'll reiterate this, it's big red flag if you're being asked for money. Okay, then, which ties right into that, if they're telling you about financial hardship and they're crying the blues to you about how they can't afford to pay for this or they need money for this, then it's very important that that you do this. Okay, so that you it's very important that you do know that this is a red flag. Okay, so and then it's another red flag is if they ask you to share a compromising photo, right there, that's definitely, something that you want to, it's to be aware of, mindful of. They're telling you about some get rich quick scheme, and they're giving you all this information, and they're trying to solicit you to invest. And maybe, it's about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or something or anything, you know what I mean? Like, or something that they want your money, they want you to invest. Again, red flag. And that also ties in with, again, and I'll say this one again, they avoid meeting you in person. It's just something to be aware of. Okay. So let's, yeah, okay. And then here's Elaine says also, they say they're a doctor and they're working overseas, but we're returning soon to the US. Yeah. I mean, are these possible? Yeah, but it's also a red flag. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to be much more on the protective side for yourself. It's really important. And if it doesn't seem right, could that be possible? Yes, could. And could it also be, suspect? Yes. So it's like, you have to then just keep your ear, and it won't be just that, so there will be other things that will come up if that's what they're saying, that they are a doctor working overseas, or whatever sort of thing they might say, volunteering work in Africa or wherever they say they're doing. That seems wonderful. That, you may want to maybe ask some more questions or get some more information, and you'll know. Again, it is so important to listen to your gut. That's the key. Okay, so you want to make sure to do that. And I think what's really the most important is, and if you could go to the next slide, there you go, is about having fun, right? So here's and I'm going to answer I'm going to talk about when you go on your first date, make it a coffee or a lunch, not dinner. I think there is, it's a good thing to think about is because this actually came up with someone that I know recently in a first date, set up on a date at coffee. And I'm going to tell you what not to do. They met at a coffee shop, and this completely backfired on this person. So they met at a coffee shop, and he went and got his own coffee and was there early and was waiting. And then she arrived, and she was just very turned off. That there was a couple of things that turned her off. Well, he didn't wait for her and see what she wanted. Now, it's not a matter of, I don't think it was like, he could offer to pay, which is fine. Is it mandatory? Do I think that the man should always pay? No. Do I think that the woman should offer? Yes. Do I think that if it's a cup of coffee, it says a lot, is it on a first meeting to make the, I don't think it's necessary to go overboard and to, take someone out on an elaborate dinner on the first date. I think it's a coffee, right? You do a coffee or a lunch. And I think, as a woman, I have always in the beginning offered to pay my own way. And I think that it's like, it's an interesting concept, because some people feel very strongly that the men should always pay. And I think that there's that personal part to it. But I also think that it is from as a woman's perspective and as an independent woman, I always felt good about being able to offer and offer. And and then it's up to them if they, could say no, no, it's fine. I got you. I got this. And that always felt right for me. But I think that again, you have to be comfortable with what you're comfortable. And if you're the type that feels very, like it's important, especially as a man, like I want to pay, I want to be the one to pay, then that's okay. So I think that it's really, it's where you stand. So I think that as far as like, because that always does get tricky, but I do think the respect of waiting for a person to arrive to be there together to order to decide to do is important etiquette. So I just wanted to mention that one, because that was that like I said, something that actually happened with someone I know recently. And so, and the person never wanted to, they left early the date, and they clearly didn't want to go back. They didn't want a second date. So that went terribly. But and all he had to do was really wait for her to get there to go and order together the coffee. And but maybe they weren't a match anyway. So all I know is that there's just different things that are going to set different people off, or what people's expectations are. And I think that that's just how you use it. You have to like see, find your match that way. It's like, and everybody is unique. It's like there's no one way or right or wrong. And I think that is so important. So that's why you want to keep it light, meet for coffee, tea, make it light. This way you can start to get to know the person and take your time getting to know them. Be in charge of take control of your online dating life, or offline. It doesn't only have to be online, but just you're the one in charge. You decide how many dates you go on, what you want to do. And you just keep at it. I do believe it's a numbers game. I always say it. You only need one. You only need one. You just have to click with one person for it to really be a match. And so it's very important to have fun with this. Do some things that you could even do online games, but you could do like all different kinds of things. You could play games in person, online, dancing, just different things. Like, just make it a fun thing. I can't stress that enough. Do things you enjoy. And so there are many, many benefits of dating, especially older, mature people who are dating. It's so good. It is so good to keep active and keep the connection. If you go to the next slide, and where I talk about the health benefits, there really are. It benefits you. So know that, I do believe strongly in my heart of hearts that there's companionship is important. It is something that, there's studies upon studies that it can help someone's overall health and well-being. And it could help your heart. So there's definitely studies that say strong social ties help reduce stress and heart health related issues. So you want to, you could definitely, I just think that it just keeps like, especially, and if it's look, it could also go the other way if it's not a healthy relationship. So I want to be very clear that this is about being in with a healthy, connected companion, that this is something that is a benefit, and you can live longer because there's definitely positive power of stable social relationships. And also loneliness can affect, someone's health and longevity, because, loneliness is really, it's something that, is we can manage that if we are putting ourselves out there, surrounding ourselves, meeting other people, and meaning like we can connect and interact. So that is hugely recommended because it helps your overall health, and it really does help delay any mental and physical decline. So if you are in a relationship that is a happy relationship, or around people that you enjoy being around, don't only mean romantically. There's just all sorts of ways to be in relationships. And last, but definitely not least, on my next slide is about, be your own best date, which is really what I really like to talk about when I talk about self-love, and to find ways to enjoy the time with yourself, as if like you're dating yourself. So if you're not with someone and you are alone, then find ways to do things for you. Get dressed up, take yourself out, do things that are something you wish someone would do for you, with you, that you can be that person and you can do it for yourself. And so you want to really embrace yourself and love yourself as you are. Really be true to yourself, and just, the main thing is that you do things that are fun for you. You do things that are sparking that inner child in you. You do things that are sparking the artist in you. You want to be there for you, so that what happens is when you go and you find that joy for yourself, it then comes back to you because you're so attractive. And so that's the whole point of it. So if you're putting yourself out there, doing things for you, maybe you have a favorite restaurant, or something you love to do, and you make it a special time and you go. And I buy myself flowers all the time. I like flowers, and I'll go and I'll get myself flowers. And not saying my husband doesn't get me any, because he does, and he likes to get them for me. Well, I also like to get my own, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy picking them, and it feels good. It feels good. I don't have to wait for him getting it for me at the right time. And I decide when that is, because then I can go and get myself the flowers, and it feels good. And you this is the point, is do things that feel good for you. And I really truly believe that it's never too late to date and find love. I've just seen so many situations with people who have really thought it was never possible, and then find love again and again, for, finding themselves alone, and then finding love again, after losing a love. And it's really, really common. So I think that is just something I want to really, really stress. And so, as I had said, that, I was going to go through my slides, and then we're going to so I'm going to look at some of the comments here, and then I'll take a couple of questions. And if there's things weren't answered, because I wanted to make sure to go through everything to see what it is that I did or didn't answer, and maybe brought up some burning questions in you and some of the things. But let me go back to, okay, so let me see some of the things and make sure I got to everything here. In the comments, let me just see where I've got. Okay, that's good. Oh, that's good. A good bookstore is a good place to meet. That's another good spot, is a bookstore, right? If there are some bookstores around anymore, if you find a good bookstore, bookstores are great. But I mean, I love a good bookstore. That's a good place. And Sherry says, I talk to strangers and then they're not strangers anymore. That's good, right? So that's so true. It's like, then you get to meet a friend. And I want to see, like, if was any other questions that I have here. I would say that as far as, going back to what do we disclose and what do we share about ourselves, I would say that, as I said earlier, about not, you never want to give too much information. So for example, if you have like certain type of disability, whether it's like a cognitive disability, or it's something that is more like, internal, but it's not like you can't see it on the outside, but it definitely affects your certain ways in life, that it impacts your way in life to live somewhat of a functional life. You want to be able to make sure that you are honest. I think the best thing is you want to give information, but it doesn't have to all come out, and it doesn't have to come out on your profile. It doesn't have to go, but I think that as you're getting to know somebody, what's really important is that you disclose as appropriately. So meaning like, you'll know, like, do you feel safe with this person? Are they sharing things with you? You also, very, very important point. You don't want to be the one sharing everything and they're saying nothing. Okay, so I want to really make that a point. You want to make sure that you are equally, it's an exchange of information. Okay, so I want to stress that it's an exchange. You're not there to just only talk about you, and you're not there to only listen to about them. You want to make sure it's equal, it's back and forth, it's shared in a pretty even way. So for a case like that, like, or if there's something that you really like are, concerned about sharing, and it's something about a disability that you feel about yourself and that you know about yourself and that you know it is, then you talk about it when you believe is the right time and you feel it's safe. And I think that's really important to mention, that you want to make sure that you feel safe to be able to talk and say things about yourself when it is again, appropriate timing. So that, and trust yourself. Trust yourself. That's so key. Like, so trust your heart. And I really want to make sure that you listen to that. And I want to stress that you all have, I'm sure, the most amazing sense and have a great intuition and have that wisdom of life, right? So and know that and that's what I want to make sure. Yes. So and I think that's important. And so and even I see what Lori you're sharing, and you don't, it's not something that you have to go out and share again, like about like whether it was a psychiatric disability or some sort of disability. And I see, you share what you feel comfortable with sharing and how much you want to share. And I think that's important. And I think that when you're in a safe relationship, you can be honest and you can say anything about you and they're going to love you exactly as you are. And that's what I feel. Lori, yes.
Yeah, real quick though,
Sure.
it comes out immediately because, I don't work and I'm kind of at the age where I could have actually retired. And so I'm starting out with a lie, but I mean, I don't want to tell someone right away that, I've been on disability for X amount of years. So, that's what I do is I tell them I'm retired and,
Well, and here, and like, this is what I would like to, how I would like to reframe it is that, I think that it's about giving the pieces of information that you're comfortable with as you're comfortable. And so I would say, that's what's so important is that you are, again, and it's appropriate because when you first, it's not like, you don't want to be like when you first meet someone, it's not necessary to give all the information. It's just not necessary. And like it's not like you don't want to be dishonest, while you also want to be in the most authentic way that you can represent yourself without having to give every single detail. And it's a balance. There is no question. It's a balance. And you give little bits and give a little bit at a time. You want to keep them coming back for wanting to know more information. And so, yes, Marianne, hi. I see. Wait, you're on mute.
You're on mute. Hold on.
I'm sorry, I was just leaving.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. So, Lori, yes.
Hold on, you have to unmute.
Right away, someone says, do you work? I can't say yes, because then they're going to say, where do you work? And then if I say no, they're going to say, either they're going to think I'm a millionaire or, so I have to say, I'm retired. I have to lie. There's no way not to.
Look, but are you retired? Is it a lot? Are you're retired? I'm not
I've been on disability since 1994.
Okay, but you're not working anymore. You're retired from working. I don't know. I think you're taking it like I guess I think the point is that you have to say what's comfortable for you. And that's really the point. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I wanted to be about being comfortable, being authentic, and being true to you and not feeling, and it's what's the most important is that you don't feel like however you decide to answer is not a lie. You know, like that's, I think, what's so important. I think that you want to feel comfortable with how you answer, and that's what the key thing is here. That's the key. Okay. So I want to make sure that you are feeling comfortable about that and not beating yourself up over it, you know, or making yourself feel bad about how you're answering. But again, about being authentic and true to you is so important, because that's really what's going to come through with when you meet other people. So I want to know if there's was there any other questions or anything that wasn't covered that anyone wanted to ask about?
Yes, I'd like to ask about the financing of dating. How does one go about equalizing the finances of dating? For instance, on the first date, is the man always obligated to pay? And that is, our society in general expects that, and most women do. And after that, it becomes a habit, and they always expect you to pay, and they may have more money than you do. But I wonder how that's integrated into the dating situation. And secondly, well, I prefer to have a lot of friends rather than one intimate friend that excludes others.
Okay. So, well, let's go back because I did address this a little bit earlier when I was talking about first dates, and so I don't want to really repeat myself. I want to just answer you directly in what you're saying, because I did talk about that that there is no right or wrong, I believe, like who's supposed to pay, because I do think that everyone has their own unique beliefs about this. I really do. And I think that that's what comes into play about what you think is right. I don't think it's a matter of a right or a wrong. I think that, you know, some women may feel strongly about that they want to pay for themselves, or some women may feel strongly that they want someone to pay for them or offer to pay for them. So it's like, and I think that because we are where we are today, you know, things have, you know, we're in a whole different place like today where we are in terms of, you know, financial freedoms and where people are at, men, women, you know, everyone, like in the dating situation. I think that there can't be a blanket answer to that. And I think that we have to find, you know, we have to navigate that when we do go on a date and make our effort as to what we believe. Like I said, like when I would I would offer, because I could, like, especially it was the first time meeting, I was not expecting them to pay for my coffee. I could buy my own coffee at the time and I was fine to pay for it. And it was a meeting. So I felt that was again, this is my perception. Someone else may show up and say, well, I'm going on a date. They should be paying for the coffee. And neither is right or wrong. I'm just saying it's really about the person that's showing up. So, and then you see how you just learn from that person you're with. And that's really how it unfolds. So you have your belief of what you feel is important. And again, it's about your values and where you stand on those issues in terms of, you know, the financials. And I think when you're in a healthy relationship, you talk about those things. You talk about that becomes a conversation. And then you are able to openly talk about it. And in my years of doing couples counseling, I mean, it's something probably the number one thing I talk to couples about is financial differences, or, you know, it's not usually equal, or they don't usually have a similar relationship with money. It's just the way it is. It's not a matter of who has more or not. It's just we all have our own different relationships with money and how we perceive it. That's why it's so personal. And that is actually a really good topic. So I would love to do a whole talk on relationships with money. So Paige, if you could make a note of that, that would be great, because that's something I'm very also love to talk about, because I love talking about relationships, but relationships with money is another really good one, but that is an entire hour topic. And but I would that's really how I would answer. But I did see there were some hands up, so I don't know if there was some maybe responses to that. And I didn't know, I saw Armand, you had to put your hands up. Is that something that you wanted to say about that, or was it a different question?
Yes, when I date, I look at it as, well, am I okay paying for this date? I am asking her to come out on a date with me. My answer is always yes. And after a few dates, gee whiz, maybe a month and a half or so, she said, "Hey, I'll pick this up." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yes." So I said, "Okay, I'm fine with that." But I went there on that date as a man thinking, I am taking this lady out. It's my privilege to take her out. I don't mind paying.
And
That's me.
yes, exactly. Right. And that's you. And I think that that's exactly the point. And I think that we have to ask ourselves, right? And we have to really, and then learn with the other person how that works, what that looks like, what feels right. And that's the way to go through. It's like you really do have to navigate through, and that's dating, courting. You're getting to know someone. So thank you, Armand, for sharing, and that's your personal input. And I think that that's great, because that you have a clear, and that's what's important. It's like you're just clear, right? And that's what I want to use that as an example. Is just be clear about what is important to you and how you're approaching dating. And then it's good, because then you'll see, like, is this person in alignment or not? And then, as Sylvia is saying too, you could also establish some parameters. You could, like, again, you could have these conversations, and it's better to start talking about these things sooner than later, because the more you hold out on it, it gets worse and heavier and harder to talk about. Okay, so these are some of those topics, like that could get, like, if you're not discussed or avoided, like finances, like political beliefs, like religious beliefs, like all these tough ones that can get tough and kind of can get heavy, get them out at the beginning. So at least what you're in for, right? So that's why Frida asks a lot of questions. That's good, because she finds out these answers, right? You may decide you're not even going to go and meet them, right? Because this answer or that answer. And that's what's very, very important. And Gail also added similar to what I said earlier, was when it's a meet and greet, it's not really, it's not a date unless it's like you've established that it was a date, but I always felt like when it was a meet for coffee, it's meeting for coffee. And if that they offered, that was very nice, but I always would offer too, you know what I mean? It was like, and I think then that's up to you to decide to say, "Oh, okay, thank you," or "I got this, thanks." Again, it's all who you are and how you are personally. And I think that is so important to be true to you, because some women like doors held for them and open for them, and some women don't want them held. So that's why it's like so unique, right? These days, it just really is like, you just have to get to know a person. That is really what I would say. So thank you, Armand, on adding that. And I also see that Allie has her hand up.
Hold on. You want to unmute, Ally? Go ahead. Hold on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, what a great topic. Really, really good presentation and great information. In my lived experience, and I've had a lot of success in my dating life, I have learned that it's important to be really open and communicative, proactively so. I think almost anything can be negotiated, and there's a lid out here for every pot. And so my thing is, you just have to find your lid or find your pot. And we're not talking about marijuana. I'm talking about, like,
Right.
there's
Like
a
a cover
match.
for every pot, right?
There's someone for everyone, right? And so we have to get creative. I think there's an opportunity to be creative in attracting them, aligning with them, and being joined. I love the concept of letting it be known that you're open and receptive to meeting wonderful partners. And so you're, putting out there in your circle of influence, hey, listen, if you know of any eligible, really interesting and very wonderful for me partners, let me know, that kind of thing. And so you let people know, because who doesn't like to be a matchmaker? It's so fun, and what a blessing, what a gift. And so I also wanted to mention transparency. The questions of disclosing around disabilities came up. I think it's really important to be disclosing and let people know early, because I don't know how one can hide that. It's going to come out eventually. Someone mentioned about psychiatric stuff. And if there was a disability, then it probably continues. They're going to see the medicine cabinet. They're going to see, because I think the last thing we want to do is have anyone feel duped. You know, like you didn't even
Sure.
tell me about this. This is big. Give me the option of opting in or making a decision that's in my best good. I might not mind, however, I might mind. And so I think it's important to give people the option to make informed decisions sooner than later before everyone is so vested to where it's now an emotional untanglement as opposed to just making a decision around either this works for me or this doesn't work for me before all this money is invested. And there are plenty
And
of
time,
people.
and time, right? You know, it's
Yeah, who wants to
someone's
waste
time,
time?
everyone's energy, and I think that's so true. And to reiterate, you know, it's the authenticity and to the honesty.
Authenticity, yeah.
So that's how you're going to end up starting off on the right foot with somebody and starting off in the right, you'll go in the best possible direction if you are upfront, if you are honest. And again, timing, right? Like finding, you know, doing it in the timing that is safe and it feels right. And you're not oversharing. And it's just, you know, you want to do it in a way that and like is even. So very, very important. And so, yes, so thank you for reiterating that, because I think that the honesty, authenticity is just so key. And that is right back to how we can do that for ourselves, be loving towards ourselves, be kind, and, you know, make sure to really take care of yourself, because the more you're taking care of yourself, you will be attracting that right back to you. And that is what I wish for all of you. And